What's up, squad? It's your squid, aka the Anxious Squid, here at Anxious Squid Productions. These guys are my patrons. If you want your name on that graphic, there's a link in the description. Please check it out. Obviously, click through, be on that graphic. That'd be cool. I'll put your name on it. But yeah, you already know what this video is about. What makes a NASCAR bust? Let's just get straight into it. Thanks for clicking on the title or the thumbnail or whatever it was that led you here, guys. If you're not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subs by the end of this year, which is 2020 if you're watching in the future. Can't do it without people like you who randomly stumble across my content and decide they like me and like it and hit subscribe. So yeah, do me a solid.
For those who have been subscribed to the channel for about a couple of years now, you know...
As always, if you want to watch the video without my reaction to it or anything like that, the link will be in the description as well. This one's made by a bloke named Black Flags Matter. I think I've reacted to a few of his videos now. A lot of you guys in the comments section like him a lot as well, so I figured I was gonna react to a Danica Patrick bust video, and then I was like, oh well, like it was in my my suggested videos, what makes a NASCAR bust, and I was like, well, maybe I should watch that first, because then I'll be able to, you know.
One of the flagship series on this channel is without a doubt NASCAR Bus. I know I haven't done a NASCAR Bus series video in quite a while, and it really got me thinking. I've never really fully explained what I thought a NASCAR bus was. There's many different opinions, many different variations of what a bust is out there, so let's get into it. First off, let's get the general definition of what a sports bust means out of the way. A sports bust is an athlete who gets selected highly in a particular league's draft or is signed to a mega contract but doesn't even live up to a sliver of those expectations. Well, let me rephrase that a little bit. You can live up to a sliver of the expectations, but if it's not even at least halfway or fully, then unfortunately they're considered a bust in most sports leagues. This definition is pertaining to stick and ball sports. Now, for NASCAR, it's a whole lot more complex. Obviously, NASCAR is not a stick and ball sport. Well, at least they try to be, it seems sometimes, with playoffs and other gimmicks and blah, blah, blah. But that's for a whole nother video. Prospects, when they come into motorsports, any particular motorsport, there's a sliver of expectations depending on what team they're driving for or who they might be replacing in some cases. Some drivers come in with lofty expectations depending on a previous series they raced in. So for example, in the sanctioning body of NASCAR, a young prospect could be dominating in the now called NASCAR Xfinity Series, and boom, he has a ton of expectations to move up to the next level.
Like Briscoe or whatever his name is.
These lofty expectations started in the early 2000s when future Hall of Famers such as Matt Kenseth, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, etc. came into the sport, and they were
none of them could be considered busts,
and they immediately started winning right out the gate. This really took place from around 2000 to about 2006, maybe even 2007 to some extent. And these expectations haven't really left yet. Some fans still expect some of these rookies to come in. And
Cole Custer's doing all right this year. Riddick, is it Riddick or Reddick? I can't remember. Anyway, Cluster, Reddick, and I like Nemechek. I'm a fan of Nemechek as well in terms of rookies this year, but they're certainly not lighting the world on fire.
I think it's important that we put those expectations to rest. It really goes to show that NASCAR has different eras in particular when it comes to rookies. Really from the late 80s all the way to the late 90s.
Oh, smushed up car. Shouldn't have painted it green.
There was a period where a rookie didn't win for around 11 to 12 seasons. Davey Allison was the last one in 1987, and then Tony Stewart ended up breaking that record in 1999. So for about 12 seasons, there was a period of time where a rookie didn't win a single race. Then you fast forward to the early 2000s, and it seemed like the young drivers were winning possibly every single week. And then you fast forward to this era, and it's extremely rare to see a rookie win at all. Also, in my opinion, a NASCAR bust isn't just limited to the Cup Series. You can be a bust in Xfinity, and maybe even and the reason for that is because some of these prospects are just hyped up to oblivion. Now, whether I'm hyping them up or whether NASCAR are hyping them up is a major difference. Let's say I hype up a particular prospect and then immediately turn on them for being a bust. You know, I used to do that to a certain extent.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Then around 2019, I started to realize, like, that's not the right way to go about it. I mean, you can't hype up a driver, expect him to basically set the world on fire, and then turn on him when he or she doesn't set the world on fire.
Yeah, like, you're setting your expectations too high.
About that over
I hear
the
that.
last couple of years. But it's a difference when NASCAR themselves decide to hype up a certain driver. So when it comes to NASCAR hyping up drivers, they need to be really selective and very careful about who they're hyping up. Otherwise, we have another Dylan Kwasniewski situation.
Kwasniewski, I was close.
Touted as the next big thing. NASCAR was definitely getting behind him in this one, but only lasted 2 seasons in the Nationwide/Xfinity Series from 2014 to 2015.
97.
A flash in the pan. Now, to my most controversial...
Still, at least he could say he was there.
The NASCAR bus Steve Park video. This one, I'm not gonna lie, is one I regret to this day. The reason being, back in 2018, my definition of what a NASCAR bus was a lot different than it is today. And I know some people in the comments are gonna get on me for that, but look, it's all a part of growing up.
Yeah, live and learn.
Over the years. What do you want me to do? It had nothing to do with his performance, by the way. Steve Park was a very serviceable driver back in those days. And in an era where talent was everything, everyone had a boatload of money, they didn't have to look for funding, Steve Park really stood out. He helped build DEI to what they were so Junior could take them to that next level in the early 2000s. The problem with him is, like I said, he kept getting hurt and hurt and hurt. And at the time, I thought a bust was really someone who also was very injury prone. But then, as I'm getting older, how can I knock a guy for having 2 complete freak accidents? And then when he comes back, he's obviously not the same driver because of those injuries. Steve Park suffered one of the most bizarre wrecks I have ever seen, causing serious brain damage, and was on track to scoring his first top 10 points finish in the Cup Series in 2001. But then when he comes back the following season, he's nowhere near the same. That team is nowhere near the same. And when you really look back on his career, I'd say it's very identical to Jerry Nadeau's.
That's weird.
So I never considered Jerry Nadeau a bust ever. And when I really took a look at
it's like he's driving on ice skates.
It's sort of similar. So, in conclusion, Steve Park is really an unlucky driver, not a NASCAR bust. And for that,
I like a man who can correct himself.
The NASCAR bust Steve Park video. And in the future, we will do a video talking about his career, particularly the 2001 season.
Love a good tattoo.
Now, right behind the Steve Park bus video, the second most controversial is without a doubt NASCAR bus Rob Moroso. Rob Moroso was really on his way to the top. At the time, he was very unusual because NASCAR was so much older back in the day. The drivers were in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I think the youngest drivers at the time were probably mid to late 30s, perhaps.
That's not very young.
Seemed like to me. But all of a sudden, this young kid comes out of nowhere, starts defeating the competition in the then called NASCAR Busch Series, and then moves straight up to the Cup Series with help from his father, Dick, and with Crown as a sponsor. Obviously, being in your early 20s with a brand new team, going up against these giants and these older drivers, he was going to struggle. And he did. You have to remember, in 1990 at the time, there was no Jeff Gordon type drivers where drivers were coming into the Cup Series in their early 20s. It certainly is not what it is today.
More Jeff Gordon
Back
stuff.
in the day, it was obviously a lot different. And Moroso suffered because of his inexperience and the inexperience of his new team. But my problem wasn't particularly with the performance, it was the off-the-track stuff. Obviously, we all know the story. Moroso was killed in a drunk driving accident and also took the life of Tammy Williams, a mother of 2, and also a nurse in the area. When I made that video, I was extremely frustrated with how this guy was being talked about. Oh, he was going to be the next big thing. What a tragedy it was to lose his life. But what about Tammy Williams? What about her life, too? And, you know, looking back at it now, you know, I had a bone to pick when it came to talking about that particular topic.
Yeah, that's fucking rough.
Would I call him a bust today? Probably not, because of the circumstances.
Was he drunk? Was he the one that was drunk?
We're also going to do a video.
That's fucking rough. Either way, I didn't know any about that. Like, tell me more about that in the comments section if you can. That the Moroso death and stuff as well. That's fucking gnarly. There's so many layers to this sport. That's fucking gnarly.
His career, and we're gonna have a very serious discussion on it. So, as for his bust status, to me, it's still to be determined. But in conclusion, for the rest of my bust videos, I really think I'm on point. Again, I need you guys to remember, this is my opinion of who I think a NASCAR bust is or not, okay? Some may agree, some may disagree, to each their own. I still think Travis Pastrana is a bust. Obviously, Shane Meal is, and Shane Meal is one of the most tragic bust stories in NASCAR history to me, because I grew up watching the guy, and you can tell he was just so talented, but obviously, because of personal demons at the time, he couldn't beat those, and therefore he couldn't compete out on the track, and obviously NASCAR suspended him for those said substance abuse problems. To me, Shane Meal is always going to be one of those, man, what if it worked out type stories, because I really feel he should still be racing to this day.
Oh, wow.
And lastly, Chad Little. Chad Little
How's Green, bro?
is a very interesting one, because obviously the Roush ride, you would have thought...
Gotta make the rules, bro. Painted a different color.
But the way we know how Jack Roush runs his racing teams now, and you really blame the guy for not running as well in a third or fourth entry? I don't know. But in conclusion, to me, without a doubt, the biggest bust in NASCAR history has to be Casey Atwood. I know I said Danica Patrick was a while back, and technically she does hold the distinction of it. But let's be honest, Danica Patrick was going to be in the Cup Series regardless of her performances or not. If we're going to look at the bigger picture of what a NASCAR bust is, or who the biggest bust is, based off of talent, height, and the equipment they were about to run in, I'd say Casey Atwood holds that distinction.
I'll have to watch some bust videos.
So that'll do it.
See if I agree with him.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me
no worries, mate. Thanks for making the video.
What you think a NASCAR bust is, or if you even think it exists. Some do, some don't. So to each their own. I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say about this. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Black Flags Matter. Catch you next time.
Nice. Thank you, man. Thank you. That was good. Yeah, I'll have to watch. I plan on watching a whole bunch of, what were, Danica Patrick bust. There's a couple of other ones as well in my Watch Later playlist now. But that sort of makes sense. A bust in NASCAR is the same as a bust in anything else. A hyped up, person that was supposed to do well or was thought that they would do well and then they didn't. So that's really good and self-explanatory. I'll get into some more hypo reactions now. I'll warm up into it and stuff. But thanks for watching, guys. These guys are my patrons. Please consider becoming a patron of mine. I like money. Turning some of your money into mine on a monthly basis would be ideal. Because then I can, spend it on stuff. Everyone likes money. I'm going to keep filming. I'm going to try and film a bunch today, so stick tuned. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Do all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, I'll see you guys when I look at you. You'll see me when you look at me. Thanks for watching.